What's going on, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. And today, folks, we are looking at Daredevil issue number 18. This issue came out in July of 1966. And today, folks, we are looking at the first appearance of the Gladiator. He's this unique villain. He's going to be introduced in this issue today. And we're going to be continuing the storyline. We have Foggy Nelson, who has a huge crush on Karen Page. He's been trying to woo her over, and this time he is going to impersonate Daredevil. How is he going to do all that? We're going to find all this out in today's issue. Today's title is There Shall Come a Gladiator. And so here we have Foggy Nelson, and he is visiting this costume shop. And that's where we're going to start out this issue. Also, before we get started, got to give credit where credit is due. This issue is brought to you by Smilin' Stanley, who wrote this issue. We have Jazzy Johnny Ramita on the artwork, Fearless Frank Giashoa on the inks, and lettering page by Swingin' Sammy Rosen. So let's go ahead now and get started. Like I said, Foggy is trying to impress Karen Page. In the past couple of issues, he's been wanting to marry her. I mean, he's just totally in love with this girl, has a huge crush on her. And we know also that Karen has a big crush on none other than Matt Murdock, who is the Daredevil, the real Daredevil. But Foggy doesn't know that. And so what we're going to see here is Foggy's attempt to impress Karen Page in this issue. So he's looking around the costume shop and he's like, man, these costumes look really genuine. These on these wax figures, they almost look like the real thing. And so he's like, hello, is anyone around? You got a customer here. Hello. No one answers. He's like, well, what am I doing anyway? This is a nutty idea anyway. But then when he's about to leave, someone says, wait, you called me? Who are you? What do you want? And out comes this man, this bald guy here. We don't exactly get his name here in this issue, but what we're going to find out here is that this guy is going to play as the villain for this issue. He is going to be none other than the Gladiator. Now, we'll find more out about him in just a couple of minutes here. So we see that Foggy points to this guy and says, look, I want that costume right there. But the guy's like, look, for a nutty guy like you, I'll do it, but you know, this is crazy, and this doesn't even come in your size. So he tells Foggy that, look, you need to dress up as somebody else. But Foggy's like, no, look. And so he comes up with this excuse saying, I got to go to this party. And so he's like, all right, I will alter the costume so that it will fit you, but you will have to pay an extra charge. And Foggy's like, it'll be worth it. This means a lot to me. And so he also tells this guy, look, I'm trying to impress this girl tonight as well. And so that's really the reason why I'm dressing up as Daredevil. And so he's like, okay, we'll come back for it tonight after dark. And Foggy's like, that's fine, I appreciate this. I'll try it on as soon as it's finished. And so as Foggy leaves the room, then we see this guy's true intentions comes out here. He swats this costume on this figure here, and he says, costume superheroes, I hate them all. They're nothing but overrated, conceited, swaggering braggarts. All their glamour, all their appeal lies within the colorful costumes. But take away those costumes, and they're no better than I am. For years, I've thought that anyone could be a superhero or villain if he had the right powers built into his clothes. Now at last, I'm ready to prove my theory, and that unsuspecting fool in his Daredevil suit will be my guinea pig tonight. And so now we're going to see what the real Daredevil is up to. We see that Matt Murdock is back at his apartment here. He's thinking about the whole situation with Foggy Nelson trying to impersonate the real Daredevil, trying to coax Karen Page into thinking that he is actually Daredevil, and so he's going to get his mind off things by exercising in his gym here. And when he gets to work, he overhears through his super radar sense that um, Foggy Nelson has asked out Karen Page on a date here, and she has said yes to the date. But he can't act like he knows about it, so he walks inside. And Foggy Nelson continues with this whole charade of trying to make Karen think that he's Daredevil when he says, and remember, Karen, if Matt ever does get in trouble, I'm always here to come to his aid. And so Matt's like, oh, Foggy, Foggy, don't you realize you're playing with fire? And he definitely is. So later that night, Foggy comes to the costume shop. It's late at night, and he's like, I'll just walk right in. I'm sure he's has it for me. So he walks in without letting him know, and he catches him off guard. It looks like the guy is working on a costume, but it's not the Daredevil costume. It is the Gladiator costume that he's working on. And he said, forgive me, I did not mean to shout at you, but you startled me. Your costume is ready. Excuse me. Your costume is ready. I will show you. That's great. I can't wait to see it. But since you are interested in impressing a lady, I have a suggestion to make. And he suggests to Foggy Nelson here that he should battle a supervillain as he dresses up as Daredevil. And it will be like a play fight, and it will occur right in front of the girl that he's trying to impress, which is Karen Page. So Foggy thinks about it, and he's like, that's a pretty good idea. I have nothing else to lose here. And so he's like, all right, so at the meeting, you just meet at the place, and I'll hire somebody to dress up as a supervillain for you and for you to fight. And that way you can impress your girl. And so Foggy gets home. He tries on the adjusted costume that was made specially for him. Now, Foggy does not have the build of Matt Murdock. He's a little pudgy, and it definitely shows right here. I mean, this definitely doesn't look like the toned Daredevil as we know for sure. And we see that Matt Murdock, dressed as Daredevil, has been spying on Foggy here, and he notices that Foggy definitely has something up his sleeve, and he's going to put Karen in danger here. So he's going to follow Foggy Nelson to the site where he's supposed to meet this hired villain here. And so he hops onto the cab here. As Foggy gets inside the taxi, he tells Karen here that he has personal business, and she says, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm willing to go with you to this personal business. And what we're going to see here is that back at the costume shop, this guy is now getting his costume ready, the Gladiator costume, and he's ready to put his new costume to use here as he fights Daredevil, this fake Daredevil. But what he's going to realize here, as we soon see, is he's going to have to come up against the real Daredevil. But we'll soon see that fight take place here in just a couple of more panels here. So he's going to leave the site, and he's going to go meet Foggy here at this place, and it's at the pier here. I mean, it's foggy, and it's right next to a waterfront. Very serious here, very serious situation. Daredevil, the real Daredevil, is looking on from a distance here, and he overhears that he's going to change. Foggy's going to change it to Daredevil here. Here comes the Gladiator. Now, Foggy thinks that this is just a guy dressed up in a costume, and it's like a guy hired, and it is no real threat, but this is a real threat. This is a real supervillain that's coming up against Foggy here. Now, Daredevil thinks that this guy also is just some guy in a costume, and he's no real threat. What he's going to find out real soon is that is not the case. So, right in front of Karen's eyes, she sees Foggy change into the Daredevil costume, And he's like, man, I look like a fool here. I'm dressed up in this. The costume's way too tight. I should have thought this through better. And he comes across Gladiator. Gladiator finally is like, all right, fool, come on out and let's battle. Let the battle begin. So here comes Foggy. And he's like, you're about to wish I didn't. By golly. And he's like, man, I really need to work on my catchphrases here. Well, Foggy slips, and then he collides into a big punch right to the jaw, and he's instantly knocked out here. Karen freaks out. She runs away. She's going to alert the police, and that gets the attention of the Gladiator. Gladiator is on her tail. When in comes the real Daredevil here. Now, Gladiator thinks that this is still Foggy and that this is not the real Daredevil. So, Gladiator is going to fight the real Daredevil while Karen Page alerts the police. Karen tells the police everything that's going on, and she says, look, I need to get to the office of Matt Murdock. I need to tell him the situation. He said, Foggy's in trouble. And so while that's taking place, Gladiator is going to be pulling or trying to pull his punches against this fake Daredevil. But what he's going to realize is that surely this is not the Daredevil that he first thought he was fighting. So they go and collide into the water here. Gladiator has a specially made helmet here to protect him from drowning. But that's not the case for Daredevil. Now, he has fought underwater before. In issue number 7, he fought the Submariner. And so Daredevil has had practice in the past with fighting underwater. And so while that's taking place, we see Karen Page makes it back to the office. Matt Murdock is not there, but she is met by one of the building manager, Mr. Dunn. He wants to talk personal business about the rent. She's like, I don't have time for that. Can we postpone the discussion? And then she's feeling restless and she begins to faint. So Mr. Dunn is going to call a doctor for her. She's having like a nervous breakdown. So meanwhile, while that's taking place, we see Daredevil still fighting Gladiator underwater. And he's beginning to black out here because he's been underwater too long. Gladiator gets out of the water. He thinks he's defeated this fake Daredevil when we know for certain that Daredevil is not down for the count. He surfaces to the water. He says that he had been taking and practicing yoga breathing techniques. He just so happened to be doing that to help him breathe underwater. And so we see here that he then attacks Gladiator. More battling taking place. Great John Romita artwork. I mean, this is an awesome first appearance issue. Gladiator is not a real well-known villain, so I'm pretty sure that if you are a collector and you wanted to pick up this issue, then you wouldn't have to come out with a lot of money to buy this issue. So back to the story, we see that Daredevil finds an opening to hit Gladiator, and he hits him, and down goes the Gladiator. The police show up. Daredevil gets out of the way. They're going to collect the body of Gladiator. But then you're like, look over there. And in comes the fake Daredevil, which is Foggy Nelson, dressed as Daredevil. And the police think that this fake Daredevil is the one that defeated Gladiator here. And they're like, how did you defeat him? What's going on? And you look a little more chubby than I thought you looked, Daredevil. And so they think that this is the real Daredevil, when in fact this isn't the real Daredevil. And he's like, I don't understand. I thought Gladiator, this guy, he knocked me out, but apparently I knocked him out. And then Daredevil's like, he's continuing his act. When will he have enough? So he realizes that Karen Page made it back to the office. He's going to return. And when he returns, he finds out that a doctor came to check on Karen and that she needs to get some rest here. She had a nervous breakdown, basically. And so we're going to end this issue on a bit of a cliff note here, or a little cliffhanger, rather. We don't know exactly what's coming up next, but we are for sure going to continue to figure out how uh, this whole Foggy situation is going to take place, and how, you know, Matt Murdock is going to have to he's going to have to confront Foggy Nelson about this, or he's going to have to basically embarrass Foggy Nelson in front of Karen Page and reveal to Karen that Foggy, in fact, is not Daredevil. So what we see coming up next is the fate of Foggy Nelson, a mad melange of action-packed thrills featuring Gladiator's return, plus the mysterious masked marauder, Grab It Fast. I'm sure it'll sell out, which it did back in 1966. But anyways, folks, I'm interested in seeing what happens up next. We'll be looking at issue number 19 coming up next. Go ahead and give this video a like, comment down below what you liked about this issue, subscribe if you have not, and I will see y'all in the next one.